You mentioned around delegating a moment ago. There's only so much that you can delegate though as a founder. There's certain things that you need to do, and if you start giving that task to somebody else, it can go horribly wrong. And I've learned that from first-hand experience. What don't you delegate? What does your day look like, your schedule? What kind of tasks can you not give to people that you have to do?
For me personally, I think fundraising pre-Series B is a totally founder-driven job.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of your job.
Yeah, you can't delegate that, can you?
You can't delegate that.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. I mean, once you get to Series B, the founder is no longer running the process in the same way. You might have an intermediary or a bank, depending on what you're going for.
Yeah.
But up to Series A, for sure, that's the founder job. And then I think investor relations, again, so important.
Yeah.
Often and most of the time, your investors are going to be people who can unlock amazing doors. And for you as a founder to keep on building those relationships, maintain those relationships, and have those doors open for you is really, really powerful. And then I think, again, it's really important for a founder to be as present as they can be. In the office, your job is chief inspiration officer.
Yes.
More than anything, right? Keeping everyone pumped up, keeping everyone hyped. I know it sounds very, very American, but it's true. Having that face time with as much of the team as you can, to a point where it's not detracting from other important tasks. But yeah, it's really important to be present. I think I see founders at too early of a stage sort of disappear. And I think sometimes it happens with technical founders a bit more.
Yes.
Technical founders who go really deep into the product side because they love it. But actually from a CEO founder, you need to have a bit more presence in that way, I think.
I know so many CEOs that they're really doing the job of a CTO. And if they just hired somebody to do the more operational people side, the company would be in a much better position. But
interesting.
What about when it comes to leadership? Because after we've got a great team, you mentioned a really good point there about being present, being in the office. Someone like Elon Musk is like the extreme example, sleeping on the floor, and that's very inspirational. I mean, for the right type of person, that would be like great. Let's go for it. But what else is important in a leader? You speak to many entrepreneurs and investors, people that run teams, run companies. What are the successful ones doing differently?
So I think you need to have relentless positivity, optimism, and passion for what you're doing. You set the tone in that way, and I think the outcomes we've had for Connected, and I see this with other businesses, it's where that passion and that level of drive then radiates down to the rest of the team. Especially as a startup, you're often hiring the first few years young talent, when you are in that generalist and specialist stage. And you have a real opportunity to show them actually how to become leaders themselves, etc. So I think having that level of just passion, optimism is super important. And then I think it is to be as transparent as you can be. Be transparent as you can be. I think there are going to be challenges along the way. There's going to be things that feel really difficult to overcome. But again, it's about building up that undeniable proof, that wall of evidence to say, well, look, we had a really challenging moment before and we got through. Therefore, we have a challenging moment again, we can get through this too. That was definitely one thing which I did not do the first time round with Real Sport, and actually led me and my co-founder to becoming quite isolated within the company at times, or feel isolated within the company at times, because there was a lot going on that just me and him were shouldering. And you think you're doing a good job of the poker face, but your team knows something's up, right? So being able to share with them, take them on that journey, help them, understand all the elements that you're working with, and also a lot of the time get a lot of ideas and solutions from them. With a high quality team, you'll get that. So I think that's a really key part of leadership.
Well, when you're trying to build that high quality team, Roei, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you do get people that are not the right fit, not the right culture, they're just not giving it what it needs. What's your view? We talked about hiring.
Yes.
Let's talk about firing, right?
Yeah.
How do you let people go? What's your opinion on that side of the coin? Give us your perspective.
Yeah, so I think really, really good question. I think you have to be brutal in the earlier stage. Hire quick, fire quick is a bit of an outdated term, but the reality is, you've got to be transparent again with all of your employees and say, look, if you're going to join us at this stage, these are the expectations. Are you up for this? Don't pitch someone into being like, no, it's going to be really fun. It is going to be fun, but you've got to give them a really strong understanding of the size of the task, also the size of the opportunity. And if it's not working, you have to make decisions quickly. It's not fair to anyone else. It's not fair to yourself, to your investors, to your other team members to hold on to people who are not doing what they need to do for your company, and it's not fair to them either. I think one of the biggest challenges a founder will have if their startup is scaling in that way is when you're moving from generalist to specialist. Often people will get lost along the way. So you need to educate your early employees very early on that that transition will happen. And although they will be focusing on 6, 7 different things, they should be thinking about what they want to refine into. Where do they see themselves in the startup in a few years' time?
Okay.
And I think when you have that transparency, and as long as you're paying people fairly as well, hate the idea of founders saying, I'm going to pay you shit. Well, can I swear on this podcast?
You can swear as much as you
Okay,
like.
cool. I'm going to pay you shit now, but when we get to Series A, then I'll pay you properly.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
You hear it all the time, right? The likelihood that the same people are going to be there, who knows? Possible, not, impossible to predict these things. So I think as long as you're paying people fairly and you're being transparent about the different stages of that journey and what may or may not happen, I think you can have a clear conscience about it.